this is Marlene and a warm welcome from Glasgow, Scotland to all around the world. In this series of Marlene and Friends, I'll be sharing with you the most amazing group of people who have all the skills and expertise to make our world one of health and peace for all who live here, humans and non-humans alike. My guest this week is a very special woman who is well known in the macrobiotic community, Dr. Martha Cottrell. Martha has been a leading figure in the application of the macrobiotic approach to healing for over 3 decades. Working closely with Kushi, Martha joined in the struggle to introduce healing, nutrition and lifestyle into the movement to reverse and heal men with AIDS. As a medical doctor, Martha has brought her own unique perspective to natural healing and was an early outspoken critic of conventional healthcare before it was fashionable. Martha's humour and warmth has made her a much-loved teacher and lecturer internationally, particularly regarding her insights on issues such as women's health. Bill and I look forward to working together with Martha sometime in the near future. We love and adore her. Hi, I'm Marlene Watson-Tara in Service for a Healthy World. My beloved guest today is Dr. Martha Clayton Cottrell. She's a licensed physician, nationally and internationally recognised author, a mother, an activist, a pioneer in holistic medicine, a huge proponent and certified counsellor of macrobiotics, and she's currently residing in Asheville, North Carolina. While retired from medical practice, Maggie continues to teach and counsel in women's health, the immune system, the environment, family health, as well as many other healthcare issues considered very controversial by so many. Maggie, a big, huge, warm welcome and greetings to you.
Well, it's wonderful to see you, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share what I've learned and what I'm so passionate about with so many people. Thank you.
Well, you're an absolute legend around the world, and I know you are hugely loved by everyone and still excited in your 88th year. I mean, you look gorgeous. 88 and still excited to be part of the team at the Kushi Institute Doctors Panel, which is on this summer, on how plant-based diets are transforming the US. So I have many questions for you, but the first one I want to ask is, when you became a doctor, Maggie, there were not many in the profession. What do you think women bring to medicine that's unique?
Well, women have traditionally, from the beginning of time, been the ones who have cared for people and nurtured people in times of illness or stress, or even in the process of growing up as children. So nature has endowed us with the ability to read body language. Babies are not born with a language. Yeah. We have to understand the difference in the cries. We have to pick up the facial expressions, the body language, all of that sort of thing. So we are endowed with the necessary types of communication, nonverbal as well as verbal communication, and sensitivity that is so important when you are working with people who are anxious and fearful and need to feel that someone has the ability to help them through a very severe crisis or even a minor crisis. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Well said. And you know, it's wonderful to have some girl power on here. I mean, you're an absolute legend and a complete role model for so many of us women in macrobiotics around the world, and traditional Chinese medicine, any of the other holistic, healing modalities. You're just incredible. You're affectionately known around the world as Doc Maggie. So, it's so unusual for doctors to become interested in macrobiotics, let alone start the practice themselves. But you did. You combined that with your medical practice for 33 years. Incredible. What were the main ideas that drew you to it?
Well, I tell you, for a long time, when I got into the practice of medicine, one of the things that I noticed that was different about my relationship with my patients was my desire and my intuition, my intuitive feeling that there was more to the illness than what I had been taught in medical school. But I didn't know what that was. For example, This is just one of the things that I did that I think is so unique and comes from being a woman, a mother, and having all of those attributes that I spoke to you about just now that nature endows us with. I had a woman come in to me. She had a pelvic infection. I talked with her, introduced myself, and so forth and so on, and invited her to go in and get on the table. I examined her, and as was my practice, I said, all right, get dressed, come in, we'll talk about it. I'll present you what I think we can do to help you. So she came back, and I explained to her what I found. I told her what I found, and this is what I proposed to do to help her with it. And my practice was to walk my patients to the door, and I would put my hand on them, and I would say, now don't worry, that's what you pay me to do. Okay. And she turned around to me and said, Doctor, do you think I should speak to my husband and perhaps not have sexual relations during this treatment? Light went on in my head, and I said, by all means, if it's uncomfortable, please abstain during it. I'll see you in 2 weeks. I wrote in my chart because I had a practice when I was doing medicine. I had this part of the sheet where I put all the medical data and everything. Then I would write over in the left-hand corner personal things that I picked up about the patient, about their granddaughters or their grandmothers or whatever. They thought I was a genius. Yeah. Because come in, I'd get my chart, and I'd say, oh, how is your grandmother doing? And,
you are a genius.
Yeah, I'm not a genius. I just knew how I wanted to work with
fantastic.
People. So anyway, I wrote in there about this, and I said, there's something going on here. So the next time she came in, I examined her. She hadn't made that much progress. I sat her down. We talked. I said, now, Miss So-and-so, you know, we are beginning to learn that stress has a great influence on our bodies. It can make us sick. It can slow down our healing. Is there anything going on in your life that could be interfering or could be stressful for you at this time, that could be contributing to the fact that you've not responded as well as I wanted you to the practice, to the medicine? And she started crying. Her husband was having an affair in the city with his secretary. Now, I just share that with how I evolved in Western medicine, I had put the psychological, the family, the dynamic together. Absolutely. But I didn't have a very important piece, which was diet, because we were not taught anything like that in medical school. So when my own health failed me, and I had a lot of different problems, not life-threatening, as I have shared, many people that know me, arthritis and psoriatic arthritis, and I had terrible sinusitis. I was on antibiotics, antihistamines, decongestants, and all that sort of thing. And I was miserable, but I was able to function because I was so passionate about my work. And when I was in Little Washington, I had gone down there for a year's sabbatical to work in a rural health initiative. I kicked up my bursitis and went to see an orthopedic doctor to get injections. And as I shared with you, I always like to laugh about this, that we doctors specialize in old magazines. And I picked up an old Saturday Evening Post, and there was this article by Anthony Saccolero. Yeah. I immediately was drawn to that, contacted the Kushi Institute, and in the subsequent days began to connect and started, I often laugh about this, the hair was back in those days, very few doctors were into holistic medicine or prevention. We were all about treating symptoms. And I contacted them, told them that I was a doctor, that I really wanted to be associated. Could they give me some ideas? I didn't hear a word from them. All they did was send me some references to some books and some workshops that were going on at the KI. No phone call or anything.
Nothing.
But then I was in a health food store, and I saw this petition about Carl Pepper down in Florida, who was trying to make this kind of comprehensive, holistic,
Sure.
dietary thing, a felony and take our license away from us. And that's when I signed a petition and said, look, I'm a doctor, my health is excellent, I've reversed all of my arthritis went away, my arthritic psoriasis went away, my sinusitis went away. Within 2 weeks, I had had a headache all my life. Within 2 weeks, I woke up one morning and I said, wow, something is different. What is it? I don't have a headache.
Incredible.
And all of my rash, my hands were so bad that I had to wear cotton gloves before I put on rubber gloves to do surgery.
Wow.
Oh, I had terrible. And as I said, surgery, they wanted to do surgery on my sinuses. But anyway, all of that went away. So I said, I have to share this with other people.
Sure.
It is my responsibility. I am a physician. Look at what happened to me. Nothing that I've done that Western medicine has taught me has cured this. And within 3 or 4 months, it's all gone.
I mean,
I could possibly keep this to myself. So finally, I got a call from Kushi.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to get this program for AIDS with Boston University. And this is another funny thing. I hope we have time. Is this okay?
Yeah, this is great. And you did that way back in the 80s, right? I think it was,
the early 80s.
Yeah.
The early 80s. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
And so I got this call from Haro, and he invited me to meet with Kushi, with Michio Kushi. And I was, whoa, Michio Kushi, you know, the guy. So I went up there, and of course, we all know Michio. He's so thorough, he gets into people, so he's always late. So he was late, and Haro said, please, go downstairs and wait for my father, and he will be down in a little while. Well, I went down there, and in comes Michio, and I get up, and I'm a Southerner, I'm an American, I'm bowing like a Japanese. He comes walking in, and he's bowing, I'm bowing, and he says, please, sit down. I sit down. What would you like, doctor? What would you like? And I'm thinking, I got to be proper here. I don't want to mess things up. I said, I'll have tea. I'm a coffee drinker from way back. So anyway, he calls a fellow over and he says, doctor will have tea. Bring me coffee.
I love it.
One of my favorite stories about me.
It's fantastic.
And so we talked, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I would so like to study with this man. I mean, I was just flabbergasted the whole thing. And so we're sitting there, and he was telling me all about the project, and I was explaining that I would be honored to be a part of it. And then all of a sudden he said, would you like to study with me?
Wow, how fabulous.
It had read my mind.
Yeah.
And I said, Miss Kushi, please call me Michio. I said, Michio, there's nothing in the world that I would like more to do than to study with you. So that began a very intimate and profound relationship that I had with Michio and Marlene and Bill and other wonderful counselors. I mean, no, I cannot express what it has meant in my life. Not only just my physical health, but my mental and spiritual health. And I have met some of the most incredible people in the world. I've been very blessed. So,
yeah. Well, they've been very blessed to have you in their life too, and I think you're drop dead gorgeous. You're as sharp as a tack. I want to be like you, Maggie Cottrell, when I'm 88. Yeah.
Well, it's part of it is being sassy. I told you I'm a 9 fire.
Yeah, you're a 9 fire, and you have Scottish blood too. It's the Scottish warrior spirit, you see. You, Colin Campbell, Scottish warrior spirit. In 1986, the AIDS study that you were involved in, which was huge, was presented at the International Conference of AIDS in Paris in collaboration with Michio Kushi, and you then also presented the work that you done in the Republic of Congo in Africa by government invitation. I mean, that was huge. What was learned from the experience of your research, Maggie?
What was my what?
What was learned from the experience of the research, that you done on AIDS?
Something that happened very interesting in Paris when we presented our research. That was the first conference of AIDS. Eleanor Levy, Dr. Levy from Boston University, was presenting our findings. And what we found at that time, there was not a lot of understanding about AIDS at that time.
Yeah.
There certainly was no treatment as such. We found that when we had a group of men that we put on a healing diet.
Yeah.
We worked with them with all of the ramifications of the macrobiotic approach,
Sure.
Diet, working with their emotions, acupuncture, relationships, the whole comprehensive approach. We found that we had an elevation of T cells.
Fantastic.
Now, I can't remember the name of the doctor that was head of the CDC at that time. I've got so many files in my head, I have to go through them all the time. But I remember, it's like it was yesterday, I was sitting up there with Eleanor Levy, and he was a little bit down in the auditorium, and he got up and he looked around at Dr. Levy, and I'm sitting by Dr. Levy, and he says, I find it very difficult to believe your data. Well, the 9 fire in me went off, and the Scots, I guess. Yeah. I got up and I said, Dr. So-and-so, are you questioning our data? Are you insinuating that we tampered with our data? And he said,
good for you. I had a woman yesterday tell me that my work was so old hat and 70s circa, and my recipes were so dated. Can you imagine? Yeah, she's some future some food futurologist person who's obviously making things in a packet. Anyway, so I challenged her as well. So we never sit down when we're challenged. We always rise to the occasion, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
Oh, my goodness, yes. You never back off.
No, never.
Back off. But anyway, we found in working with these men, one of the most important things, and this proved to be the case with Anthony Sacalero as well, and I saw this repeatedly, not only with AIDS, but with other people that I worked with, it was so important that they had the support of their loved ones.
Sure. Doing
this alone is very difficult. And so what we did, and one of the incidents that happened, I had great confidence in my own immune system because I was taking care of it.
Sure.
So when these boys would come to me to have their blood taken, when they would come in, some with Kaposi's, they all diagnosed with AIDS, I would hug them, I would kiss them, I would draw their blood the way I didn't put a mask on, I didn't have all that equipment and those, and one day the boys came in and they said to me, Doctor, we want to say something to you because it's very important to us. Said, when we come to see you, we don't feel like pariahs anymore. We feel like human beings. Said, you hug us, you kiss us, and you're not afraid of us. And I said, my goodness, of course not. Of course not. I take care of my immune system. It's going to take care of me. And that's what I want to teach you.
It's so fantastic, Maggie. And we're so blessed that you're still teaching the immune system to people because people don't get it, It's like as we travel all the time, I don't know what it is to have a cold, a sore throat, a sneeze, a sniffle, aches, pains, nothing. Because just as you've said, Bill and I and people like us, we take care of the immune system every day, and when that's strong, it takes care of you. You must, as a medical doctor, sit back sometimes and look at all these Zika viruses and Ebola viruses and all these things that are happening. You must feel it's standing up and starting a revolution about it all,
Honey, I tell you, I wish I were younger. I'd be raising more hell than I am.
Well, because I can imagine that the changes that you've seen through the decades and decades of, being an MD and, what would you, I know you would change everything, you're 88, but you've got energy more than half the people that I know. So, I'm going to bring you over to Scotland and we'll get the revolution started here.
You'll have to take me so I can buy some tartans.
Yeah. Oh, Bill Tara would be desperate to have. I mean, he loves you so much, as everybody does, you know. But yeah, I know you have a very special friendship with Bill. You know, you're a graduate of the Women's Medical College of Pennsylvania, and you know your knowledge and commitment to world health and peace.
Let me tell you about Women's Medical College.
Okay.
Well, first of all, it's such a story. You know, everybody tells me I need to write a book, and I do want to write a book.
Yeah, you must write a book.
Such an incredible life. I did not know. I was brought up in the Deep South. I had no idea that women could be doctors.
Right.
When my husband at that time came home from the Second World War, I realized that I had to get out of that marriage. It was not a happy marriage. I was married very young at 15, which was not unusual. Wow. Yeah. And as I grew up and became more who I am today and began to speak up and express myself and say no when he wanted a yes, it became abusive, and I knew I had to get out of it. But what I told him, you know, I often laugh and say, we Southern women are taught at a very young age how to manipulate. I remember sitting at my daddy's feet, cutting out pictures of horses saying, oh, Daddy, isn't this a beautiful horse? I would love to have one like this someday. Of course, I got my horse. Yeah. So when my husband came home, I said, you know, you're a very intelligent man. And he was. Mm-hmm. And I said, you have the GI Bill. You really need to take advantage of this and go to college. And I said, I ought to go with you so you won't be ashamed of me when you get your degree. So I got myself into college.
Fantastic.
And in biology, one day I was talking with a young woman who was a student, and I said, what is your major? She said, I'm a pre-med. I said, what? Women can go to college, to medical school? She said, yes, it's very difficult, but you can. And I immediately went home and I said to my husband, because I was a good Southern wife, and I told him about this, and I said, you know, I've always been attracted to healing. Yeah. I thought I'd be a nurse, or I never thought that I could be a doctor, but I said, women can get into medical school, and I wanted your permission to change my major so I could be pre-med. He said, well, all right, you can have my permission, but you'll probably not ever make it. And wow. I said, oh, have you permission? Okay, so bomb, off I went. Well, I researched around the different colleges, and I knew I had to apply to a lot of them, but the one that struck me was Women's Medical College of Pennsylvania. And the reason it did was that in the 1800s, the Quakers were very, very passionate about the fact that women were not being accepted in medical school in this country. So they decided to start their own medical school for women.
Really? Wow, that's incredible.
In Germantown, up on Germantown Avenue. And in addition to that, the medical society threw them out and denied them hospital privileges, so they started their own hospital. And being me, I said, that's where I want to go.
You're a superstar. You're an absolute superstar. You know, and coupled with all that, you know, your knowledge and commitment to world health and peace, Maggie, just, you know, it characterises who you are. You're a woman of courage and strength. You've lived your life with hope, with passion, positivity and humour. You know, I just absolutely adore you. So, yeah. When are you at the Kushi Institute? Next month or the following month? You're teaching on the panel.
In August.
In August.
Last weekend in August, I will be up there.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been, and I wanted to share something else. You know, my father was very influential in my life, and he always taught me. He said, "Honey, if you keep people poor, you keep them uneducated, and you keep them sick, you can keep them in slavery." He was devoted to education. Now, you asked me some of my passion, what I would like to see. We should be teaching in public school systems from day one. Yeah. These kids, you know, I love to take complicated issues and simplify them so that a 3 or a 5-year-old can understand them. Yeah. You know, a good teacher makes the most complex subject simple.
Simple, that's right.
Absolutely. A poor teacher takes a simple subject and complicates it. So you could teach the immune system. You could teach the effect of stress. You could teach kids about the GI tract and how it's designed for plant-based rather than animal. All of these things. And the investment would pay off in a much healthier citizenry. The problem with that is politicians and people who are power hungry do not want to cultivate people who think.
That's right. I agree with you 100%, 110%. Yeah.
Because when I grew up, even my mother, bless her, she gave me so much. But I remember at a very early age, we read the Bible at every meal and memorized verses and everything. And even as a child sitting on her lap, I would say to her, "But Mother, you said that we read that Adam and Eve were the first people on the earth, and when Cain and Abel had that, when Cain or Abel killed, and I think it was Cain was vanished, and he went out and he found this tribe and he married into this tribe." I said, "How did that happen? I thought Adam and Eve were the only people on earth." And she said, "Honey, you mustn't question." And I said, "Why?"
Oh, yeah. It's amazing.
It's so important that people question. Yeah. And we have to teach them at a very early age that it's okay to question, to search, because we don't have the whole truth.
We don't at all.
We don't have the whole truth. But when we have healthy bodies and healthy minds, we can search for that truth, and we move in a direction of compassion and sustainability. What we're seeing now is that greed, the lust for power, which is promoted by fear.
Sure.
You eat a lot of meat, you damage the kidney, and the kidney is the organ of fear.
Yeah.
And then all of that goes to the liver, which is the organ of anger.
Yeah.
And what do we have in the world today? Fear and anger, which is destroying. So we have I am very devoted to the philosophy of macrobiotics. Macrobiotics is more than a diet.
Sure, absolutely. The philosophy is what made me fall in love with it.
The philosophy. Yeah. And we need to teach the philosophy more. We need to empower people with the knowledge that they can make their own choices.
Absolutely.
Not make them dependent on us as counselors like we do as doctors. Yeah. Like I said, don't you worry. That's what you pay me for. You know what I tell my patients? This is a partnership. I cannot do it for you. I can teach you how to do it, but you have to do it. And if they say to me, "Oh, doc, I don't know if I can give up this," or "I don't know," and I say, "I'm not the doctor for you."
Yeah.
You have to do it.
Absolutely.
No charge for this visit.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah, I know, but it's true. And Maggie, mum, as I said, she's 90 and just back from New York shopping, and she has friends her age, your age, and they're all sitting there in nursing homes medicated with their mouths opened. It's heartbreaking,
Exactly.
And it's cause and effect.
It's unnecessary.
Not necessary at all, and I always say, happy, healthy, dead, right? That's how it should be. Mum doesn't take any medication, nothing, no painkillers, nothing, And I look at these people and I think they've been cheated out of their life by, as you've just said, the greed and power of the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the governments. So education. Push.
It's crucial. It's crucial.
In the words of the beautiful Nelson Mandela, education is the most powerful weapon. We have to change the world.
That's what my father always said.
Yeah.
He was a devotee of, and look at how we are leaving our young people in great indebtedness.
I know.
When we should encourage education and make it affordable, because that's the best investment in the future.
That's right.
Absolutely.
As a medical doctor, you must see, Maggie, the horrendous metabolic syndrome that the youth in our world have nowadays, 8-9 years of age, with cholesterol levels through the roof, with heart disease, in vitro even, coming out the womb with 500-600 chemicals in the umbilical cord. You think, what chance do these kids have?
I know, it's very challenging, and, well, I take, again, my father. My father always said to me, do not be ashamed, do not apologize for being in the minority.
Yeah.
He said, remember, it only takes a little bit of leaven to raise the bread.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Now, we are in the minority.
Mm-hmm.
Those of us who are so passionate about this, who are teaching this,
Mm-hmm.
those of us who have chosen. I do see an increase.
Yeah.
But I also see an increase in a lot of dietary things that are not comprehensive, and they do not have a philosophy behind it.
That's right.
And that's why I don't call myself a vegan. I'm macrobiotic.
Yeah.
I'm a plant-based diet.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the basic principles of macrobiotics is to make balance. Is that not correct?
Exactly.
Make balance. Now, back in the olden times, when fish was plentiful, the oceans were healthy.
Yeah.
Fish was the philosophy of eat as far away from your own
mammal, yeah,
species as possible. And we know that there is really a foundation for that with our immune system, and I'd love to go into that sometime. I love to teach that. But anyway, now that the oceans are polluted, fish are the reefs are being decimated.
Mm-hmm.
The fish population is overfished.
Yeah.
We are decimating the oceans as we have decimated the air and decimated the water and decimated the land. So what do we do in using the philosophy of macrobiotics in order to make balance? We move more and more and more toward a plant-based diet, away from even animal or fish,
yeah,
which is hard for me because I love fish.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been brought up on that as a macrobiotic person. But I realized that in order to be in tune with the challenges of the times,
yeah,
I'm going to have to move increasingly away from that, more and more toward vegan, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing, you know, when I was interviewing different friends around the world who are oceanographers or whatever, they say the oceans by 2048 will probably be empty, you know, and most of it's farmed now anyway, so the farmed fish, they're in all these confined spaces and covered in feces and tumours, and it's just horrendous. So plants are, as you say, are in plentiful, and, you know, long live the plants, and we have to just all keep pushing out together. So,
I think that by doing that, you know, Micho, in one of his spiritual lectures that I attended, he taught us that we were in this spiral, that everything in the universe is a spiral. Mm-hmm. It either goes down or it goes up. And he said we are in this very young period, and that we can't stay there indefinitely.
No.
That we are going to move into a very spiritual and very yin place. Mm-hmm. And I see that the plant, as we eat more of a plant-based diet and eat less of the death and the pain and all of that goes into the meat diet, the meat-based diet, mm-hmm. It will help us to be more compassionate, more spiritual, yeah. and able to heal the planet. So I think it's time. We're living in an exciting time. I know it's a very challenging time, but for me it's a very...
No, I agree with you. It's very exciting. And I mean, you know, every day there's more and more people joining, pushing the rock uphill, swimming against the tide, more and more people behind us all now, so it's absolutely fantastic. I could talk to you forever, but we're out of time, so please share a funny story before you leave me.
A funny story?
Yeah, something. You've got funny stories, Maggie. Your funny stories entertain everybody at the camps that you teach at.
I came up
And you've got one.
All right. Thank you. My friend reminded me, this is one of the funniest things. When we were in the Congo, mm-hmm. we were getting ready to leave, and we had to be checked out. They took our passports when we went in. And so we had to go through and everything that we were going out, our baggage, they were checking our baggage. And I had bought I wish I could turn the camera on, they're beautiful sculptured bodies of an African man and an African woman. And I had them in my bag. And Marlene came over and said, Maggie, they will not let you take those out of the country. But she said, now Marlene was a little devil herself.
Yeah.
She was a delight. I loved her. She said, but Masao has already gone through, and if you want to put your sculptures into his bag, I think we can get away with it. Well, it never occurred to me that we might end up for life in prison. Yes.
Yeah.
So Masao comes over and he's in the conspiracy as well.
Oh, wow.
So I put my little saturnines in there, and they're in here today, and I love them. And every time I look at them, I think about Marlene and Masao, and
That's beautiful.
it sings out.
Yeah,
So,
it's fantastic. That's wonderful. You've got so many memories and so many heartwarming stories, and you've changed the life of thousands of people around. You still are changing the life of thousands of people around the world. And I know everyone that follows my series will be excited to hear from you. And hopefully Bill and I will organise something and we'll get you over here, because it would be a joy to have your Scottish warrior spirit along with me in this country.
I would love it. I love your brogue. Oh, it's just delightful. I listen to you all day.
Oh,
I have to reverse this so that you do all the talking and I can do the rest.
Yeah, well, we will, and I would love to have you back on sometime. And Bill sends his love. He's sorry he's not here to speak with you, but we will get together again soon. So, Maggie, thank you for your beautiful heart and soul. You're just such a special, special legend in the world, and I'm honoured to be your friend. And thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be on your program. I'm very privileged. Thank you.
Well, God bless you. Big hug.